I'll say like Boston said, it's been such a long time. Yeah, I don't remember exactly the day I did my last show, but it was probably the 10th of March, something around there, because the schools closed, hell broke loose, COVID, this and that. Kids stayed at home. I have a hard time, keeping them out of the room that I'm doing the show in. So I'm happy to do it. I hope a few people listen, maybe not live, maybe later on. I'm very happy to have people around. I'll talk a little about if I can find my list of Canadian music, I'll get to that. But one thing that's been bugging me so much is because I hear so much talk. This friend I have, Danny, he's laid out money. He's just an example of one person for concerts. Now, the Bell Center is not to blame. Montreal is not to blame. The concert promoters are to blame. Ticketmaster, Live Nation, Eventco, they're kind of all linked into one little pile, but it's Ticketmaster that's what they're doing is what's really pissing me off is there's two ways to deal with the bands that can't play any longer. They book shows. There's two ways to deal with this. But what they're doing is in some cases they're doing this. They're canceling concerts. What does that mean? You laid out 6, 7, 800,000, 200, whatever it was. They give you back your money. They give it back. It goes back on your credit card or whatever system you use. So that's fair. But then there are situations where they postpone the show and they assume that at some point they'll rebook it down the road. But the problem is, if you're not available in November for the show that you wanted to see in May or April or March or February, whatever it was, you will not just get your money back so fast. You're gonna have to wait for the next show if it's postponed. You got to sit around and hold those tickets. They're not going to give you your money back. You have to be available when they go back on tour if they ever do. And then maybe if you fight with them, let's say ZZ Top was coming with Cheap Trick. It's Eddie G's Music Row, by the way. A rare show, but I felt why not? I have nothing better to do. The Greek Stir gives me fever to do a show. I see the man; he's everywhere. Ross Dog, this dog, the guy's unbelievable. He would do a show if the hangman's noose was circling around his neck. He would do a show before, and this is a compliment, not an insult. But anyway, just to sum up, what I'm trying to get at with this point is the postponed shows. What if you're living hand to mouth? What if you're a guy that barely has enough money and you laid out $400 for you and your girlfriend or wife or whatever to see ZZ Top and Cheap Trick? Now it's postponed. So you're sitting there with your tickets, can't get the money back. You have to wait till those old geezers decide to come back on tour. And what if they come back on tour and they don't bring Cheap Trick? Maybe Cheap Trick, Rick Nielsen books a show in Slovenia for 2 months and somewhere in the Cheap Trick goes all over the planet. What if they do that? Oh, all of a sudden, you like Cheap Trick? Well, they're not coming back with ZZ Top. So you're going to get ZZ Top, but Cheap Trick won't be on the bill because their touring situation changed and their availability changed. The May 17th show in Montreal and all the other canceled shows are not going to happen, or the postponed shows, should I say. So those people are kind of on the outs, and they'll have to wait and see what happens down the road. I've already lost a baseball game, a preseason baseball game with the Blue Jays and the Yankees. I was looking forward to that got canceled, but I didn't lay out the money. They canceled it, so my friend got his money back. Then the second show that I lost out on temporarily is ZZ Top and Cheap Trick because it's postponed. So my friend who laid out the money isn't getting his money back. He has to sit around. The third show I'm scheduled to go to, I was looking forward to because we have front row seats. That hasn't been announced, but it's July 29th. But they already canceled the Jazz Festival in Montreal, the Comedy Festival, all the outdoor stuff. The Comedy Festival is coming in the fall. But they canceled some festivals. So it's going to be a mystery what's going to happen with that concert. I hope it's going to happen. You tweet Randy Bachman and Britton Cummings, you're not going to get an answer too fast. They're a little bit above replying to fans. And listen, John Bon Jovi, he did something which was nice. I've seen on Twitter and YouTube comments that he's not exactly a great guy. There's people saying he's not nice to people. I don't know. I don't know the guy. He seems nice. He let me pat him on the back. But he said, "Oh, you know what? First of all, he booked. He did he arranged a big tour. Then he went on Howard Stern 2 weeks ago, and he says, Howard said, "How are you going to do this tour? You got a tour. I mean, what are you going to do?" He says, "Wow, this is a week before it was canceled." Well, Howard, I really don't know. It's going to be real tough to figure out how to do this show and all this. He didn't say it's canceled, but he was like, he was running into that direction that he's saying, like, well, doesn't look great. And then a week later, I see canceled. And then he kind of like wanted credit for being a great guy, which he probably is. He says, "Oh, well, I didn't want to postpone it because then all the people that laid out their money would be stuck, you know, if it's postponed, they'd be stuck waiting for me to get back on the road, and then their money would be held up and all that. So I didn't postpone it. I canceled it so you can get your money back," which makes him look really nice. And maybe he is really nice. I mean, he's running some kind of a restaurant for underprivileged people in New York, where he says on Stern's show, and I'm sure I believe him, that he goes there, he's working there, washing dishes and cleaning the place and doing stuff. I mean, listen, the guy's worth hundreds of millions of fucking dollars. It's not shocking that he could shell out a million, whatever, a million a year uh, on a charity. Maybe it's not a million a year. Probably maybe it's 200,000 a year, where he lays out money to allow people to eat for free. Maybe they have to show that they're really poor. Maybe they got to show they're on welfare. Whatever the deal is. So it's 200 grand or whatever. I'm using the amount 200,000 as a guess. I don't know what that restaurant would bring in if it was actually a paid restaurant, but for whatever reason, this is his thing, and he's doing it, and it's really nice of him, I guess, and good for him. But at least he let people get their money back. So that's my situation with the touring. I'm a little mad about it. I'm a little mad, but not so mad because I'm not the one laid out money. I didn't lay out a dime, so it's not that big of a problem for me. Then if I don't get to see a couple of shows, it'll be okay. I'm now looking to kind of flesh out this attempt at a show, which I'm happy to say is a serious attempt. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for the last time I had a list. It must have been in a while back. Is it this? No. And I'm trying to kind of get my hands on the list that I was working with, Canadian bands. I think it was at number 150. So let's throw a few numbers out there. Talk about Canadian music. Those guys must be seriously hurting because what the hell is? How are they making money? I mean, we're not talking about the Rushes of the world, the two members of Rush that are in trouble. This Canadian list is by Ranker. It's just something I stumbled on for talk, and it's a movable list. So, in other words, it's like a chart, a Billboard chart. It goes up and down based on the weeks. However, they decide what determines the placing of this list. Godspeed You, Black Emperor, number 150. Not sure about them. If you ever do want to talk, there's a comment section. If somehow you pick up on this and you know something about these bands, then definitely fill me in because I don't know a whole lot about them. Number 149 is Default. They're trying to sell the record, so it kind of looks like a rock band, but I don't know much about them. But the next act I do know quite a bit about. Nash the Slash at number 148. Now, that guy was in a band called FM, and for the second time in my life, I saw this indie Canadian movie, low budget affair, where the Nash the Slash is in the movie. Towards the end, they throw him out of a van or something, And it says it in the credits, Nash Slash. This is from 2000, was it 1996 or 5 or 4? So, I mean, the guy was big in the 80s in Canada. FM was like a progressive band. He had a bit of a following. God knows what he's up to now, but he's kind of like the band FM is where he was from, and he did solo records too. 147 is a big act. Ian Thomas Band in Canada. I remember he used to go on Twitter and say, anybody want to ask me questions, ask away. I'll answer all the questions. And all of a sudden he stopped saying that because he probably got like 50 a day and got tired of it. But yes, he Painted Ladies had that, it was a big hit of his. Plus he had 3 or 4 more, 6 more maybe in Canada. And then he was lucky enough that Running in the Night, not the Lionel Richie song, Running. It was a great song, and it was covered by Manfred Mann when they were still popular. So Manfred Mann had a bit of a following because they had Blinded by the Light and other songs, and they were kind of still in the mix of the charts. So that was good for him. They covered that song, so he had to have done okay with that. I'm just guessing. Let me see. Back to the list. We'll see how long this goes. And my kids promise to stay upstairs. 146 is Rusty. Now, the only thing I know about Rusty, the band Rusty, is they had a video and a really good song and a video, but the video was super rare that you would see this. It was like a teenage 20-something, 18 to 20-year-old gay guy trying to get picked up by a man in his car. That was the song. That was the video. That was the theme of the video. And it was really strange because you don't expect to see something like that on Much Music or whatever channel I was watching it on. It's kind of controversial. I mean, it wasn't anything like very graphic. It was just he was wearing no t-shirt and low-cut pants, and the guy was looking him over and whatever. But the song was good at least, and the video was controversial, I'm sure. Number 145 of the Canadian band list, Mike Milandetic. How did he get to this place? But he says he's a great Canadian guitarist. So. FM, the band I was just talking about from Nash Slash, was in. They show a picture and they don't show Nash all bandaged up. Maybe he's no longer there anymore. Because that was his thing where he would put bandages over his face or like a mummy. The best song, no, that's just that. The Poppy Family, Which Way You're Going, Billy, that was one thing. They had a couple of hits. Billy Jack, what was it? Seasons of the Sun. Terry Jacks's mother was in that Poppy Family. They had 1 or 2 hits in the States. 142 is Chalk Circle. Well, my brief 6 months at HMV record store, and I managed to meet a few rock people. They did in stores, which is called they show up and they hope fans show up at the record store and buy their record. But in his case, he was solo. April Fools is one of the great songs, and the singer, I can't remember his name, he was solo. And there was not a massive turnout for him. So I talked to him for a bit, but maybe 10, 20 people were interested in listening to his new music. The Age of Electric. It's a good one. Can't really tell you I know that band much, but I bet if I really looked into it, there would be a song or two that I know. Kick-Axe, they were a metal band. They were early 80s. I don't think they were massive, but they definitely had a following in the metal scene. I'm sure they toured around Canada and they might have even barely hit the American charts. We'll go a little further. How could they be showing FM again? I don't know. Something weird. Bruno Ferreira, Sam Palo added. Oh, maybe there's 2 forms of the group. I don't know. Crowbar. They did there's a show called Hoarders, and they did a show of one of the guys in this band. He was some like in decline rock star, sick and living in a cramped house, and he had that one song, What a Rush, What a Feeling. I think that was Crowbar. Anyway, he was talking about how he barely made money in the band, and it was like a cramped, broken down house, and he was barely surviving financially. And it was kind of sad. I do remember Crowbar. They kind of were this kind of BTO-ish band. Gob. I had a friend that talked about Gob. He was a big fan of theirs. West Coast, Ontario. I probably heard one of their songs. Moxie. I know that band. That's for sure. For sure, this band were kind of tinkering around for a while in the metal glam time frame. So Moxie, I know, I remember them, but they had that one song. I did do a little research about a 3, 4, maybe 2 years ago, where I looked up this band and I remembered one or two songs. Amanda Marshall is a really big story about her because she was this Elton John touted next big thing that would become this big act, and she had a beautiful voice, and she was kind of cute with this, short, sassy looking type of girl, like an Avril Lavigne style, and she has a beautiful voice. Birmingham, plus a couple other ones, really good singer, really should have been a huge star. Don't know what happened. She did some free show in Montreal and didn't go. Then all of a sudden you hear she does anthems at sporting events, and she might be popping into little concerts here and there. And I don't know. I don't know. Well, how do you put an act down for not becoming a huge act? It's. I don't have any negativity about her. I think she's super talented. Time has passed. I mean, 1997 is 2020. It's not going to happen. 134. This is a band I saw live, and I ate a pizza next to the Box. Closer Together, he did with somebody. There's one song he did with what's that blonde's name? I can't remember her name. But anyway, I was eating pizza, and here he was. I said, "Are you? You look like you're familiar from your video. Are you in the bar?" He says, "Yeah, my name is Jean Marc or something," and he actually signed a little autograph for me, and I have it still. They had some great talent, and they seemed to really be on their way. And again, this is another Canadian thing where they were like a parachute clubbish type of band, and they didn't blossom to this big band. But about 2 years ago, I saw him on Twitter, but there was a message in his or in a website, and it said, "No contact from fans for any reason, or no musical contact for anything. All I'm doing is selling art. So if that's the reason you want to deal with me, then that's okay." Haywire. Okay, they're from PEI. I bet you if Grixter's listening, he knows about Haywire. They had some kind of hit, 2 hits. And I liked them. And I don't like, again, they just kind of got lost in the shuffle. Or maybe they're big in PEI and they still play shows around Canada. Don't know. I can't remember the song. Powder Blues. I think I saw them live. Kind of let me hear that guitar ring. I think that was them. I think I saw them, and they were around town. They would show up to Montreal. They would guaranteed big Ontario band or out west type of band. It's not a bad thing to not get to the big time. They didn't, but they also did well in Canada, so I don't feel too bad. Killjoys, I've heard of them. I didn't even know they were Canadian. I definitely know one of their songs, Killjoys. I wish I remember what it was, but there's another band called not the Killers, but Killing Time or something else. Rheostatics. Wow, that name means something to me, but I don't remember who they are. Downchild Blues Band, Flip Flop and Fly, 1970 something. I love this band. That song was cute. It was like a real upbeat, funky little song. Look them up. Downchild Blues Band, Flip Flop and Fly. 1,000-Foot Crutch, sorry, doesn't mean much. Number 128. Michel Pagliaro, wow. I've seen him twice live. He was in a halftime between a doubleheader at the Montreal Olympic Stadium for a baseball game. So he did a show then, and then I saw him 2010, and I got his autograph, and he signed. Another guy, really great talent. Loving You Ain't Easy. I think I was 13. I bought that record. It was really good. I mean, I loved his voice. But he's had a history of drug abuse, and I don't know if he's still doing that, but he did have that history, and it kind of hurt him, I heard. But great song, great singer, I mean. And Jim Cuddy, number 126, of course. He is in Canada's own. Now I can't think of it. What the hell's that band's name? I'm sure they're going to be in the top 50 of bands. Really big in Canada. Can't believe I can't remember them. Maybe I'm the lowest of the low. Anyway, Jim Cuddy. What the hell? They had some really good countryish, popish songs. There were two singers in the band. I don't remember. The lowest of the low, number 125. I don't know much about them. Nick Gilder. They spelt it Guilder. He was in Sweeney Todd with Brian Guy Adams was in this band that he was in before, and then he had Roxy Roller, number 2 or 3 or 1 song, Nick Gilder. And I think I remember him not being born, and he was kind of a overseas guy from Ireland or something, and then he maybe grew up in Canada. I don't know. He played with the songwriting partner was James McCulloch in Sweeney Todd, and he went on to be in Wings. James McCulloch. Okay, let's go to 100. What's that? What the hell? Number 123, the Philosopher Kings. They did have a couple of songs, kind of this kind of 90-ish band. I walked through a live concert of theirs. Like, it was one of these things. There was like 5 concerts on Canada Day, and they were playing in a little corner somewhere. Not a corner, it's a bit rude. A big section, actually. And I remember walking through and listening to them play a bit. So I liked them. Rival Sons are a pretty new band. I didn't even know they were Canadian. I've heard of them. Laura McKenna, number 121, folksy type. There is a song or two I know, but I can't think of it now. Gatto, metal band again, 120. Voivod, French, Russish, progressive. Kind of got a little bubble in the U.S. for maybe a year. Don't know what's wrong. 118, well, great. I kind of like Headley. I saw them. I walked into Bon Jovi concert. They were the opening act. So I heard about 3 or 4 songs. Then the lead singer, Hogworth or whatever his name is, he got caught up with a couple of 15-year-old girls that made a stink about him. And I think he was a little too close with them. Let's not accuse him, so I won't tell you more. So he got in trouble, and that band's been on hiatus for about 3 years because the legal trouble is not finished. Tokyo Police Club, heard of them, number 117. Not sure much about them. Killer Dwarfs. From what I remember, I think they were supposed to open up for Motorhead when I went to see them, and they canceled the last minute or something happened. But they're a metal band, metalish, punkish, rockish band. Sweeney Todd, I just talked about them. Roxy Roller, no, Nick Gilder did. I forget. Sweeney Todd did Roxy Roller, but Nick Gilder had Hot Child in the City. That's it. Big song. Number 114, The Grapes of Wrath. Really good folkish rock poppy band. Had promise. Midwestern Canada type of act, but I heard they broke up. They just never became that big. Dallas Green. Sorry, drawing a blank. Maybe it sounded like a football or baseball coach was named Dallas Green, I thought. Number 113. Edward Bear. This is the last song I'll ever write for you. That was him. He was in another band too. If Griggy could sing, so can I. Bedouin Soundclash. Number 111. They drove me crazy. I had a job in 2005. And the stupid manager, he stuck that CFQR FM on. And this stupid hey would play like 3 times a day, 5 days a week for like a year. So I grew to hate that song. They did the same thing with Maroon Moron 5. They would play that stupid bland song 5 times a day for 2.5 years until I lost my job. And like, enough. Paul Anka. Do I have to talk about Paul Anka? If you're this far into the show, you know who he is. He wrote My Way. He had about 15 or 20 hits. He wrote the Tonight Show theme. What else do I have to tell you? The guy's a brilliant star from Ottawa. Diana, you know the story. Chantal Crevillaso. I saw her in concert. Very good. Married to Our Lady Peace singer, whatever his name is, I forget. I know that a friend of mine, Oren at the time, not his friend now, due to gambling problems from the past, Chantal and her bodyguard had a big argument with him because he had a video camera in 1995, and he was videoing this is before the cell phone videos. He had a little camera, and they caught him, and they gave him a hard time. We'll go to 100. 108, Toronto. That was a good band. They had 2 or 3 good songs. This little hot chick was singing. Sorry to say chick. She was the lead singer. What was their hits? I really liked them, but again, I think they bubbled under, which is in the Billboard charts. They got the number 102. So that didn't pay too many bills, I'm pretty sure. I doubt if they're around. Junk House. Okay, what was their song? something about a teacher. It was some kind of sexual innuendo, 90s-ish band, like a GNR type of a knockoff band. I kind of like their one or two songs. Long John Baldry. Never thought of him as Canadian. It's a bit strange. Maybe he moved here. He's a legendary guy from England, but somehow he's Canadian. I'm a little confused. But he had Elton John in his band. I think, what was the other guy? Blue Rodeo was the band Jim Cuddy was in. It just came to me. But Baldry had all kinds of people in his band. Jeff Beck, that's the guy. 105 Coney Hatch. Hey, operator, let the telephone talk to me. One and wonder, pretty much. The Kings. This is funny because I liked that song, Switching to Glide, and then I went on the YouTube video, and I started to say how great they were and how I wish they were huge, bigger, and I wish they would tour again. And so one of the members of the band was monitoring the YouTube comments, and he replied that I said, if you came to Quebec, he says, dude, Quebec didn't give a damn about us. There were no fans here where you live in Quebec. We would have 3 people show up. We can't do a tour. There's not enough popularity there. So I felt kind of bad, but he was nice enough to talk to me about it. DOA. I can't remember what it was that they did. There was one song. 102 of the best Canadian bands, the Strumbellas. Well, guess what? I don't know much about them either. Number 101, Headpins. Yeah, they did have that one hit in the U.S. Pretty Girl, Holly, and there were 2 or 3. She would do that high-pitched scream, and the metal, Don't You Want to Feel Like Dancing? I think that was them. And then he had another one, too. Like I said, wow, the Headpins might become big. And just as soon as I said that, they fell off the charts. They lasted a year. Anyway, Eddie G's Music World has gone 27 minutes. Oh, my God. Can't believe it has that much to say. I'll just say, oh, my, there's nobody watching now. I did not manage to get a crowd, but maybe somebody will listen to it at another time. Eddie G's Music World signing off. Maybe I'll be back in a week, 2, 3. I don't know. Listen to the Greek series going far. Bye.